calling in miracles, not because you're calling anything in, but because you're so clear on the truth that you are a living, breathing miracle. You are a miracle in motion, and therefore you are a miracle magnet because that is what you are available for. And all you need to focus on is that. All you need to control is that. All you need to do is focus on being open and receptive to them coming in, to them showing up in your life.
This is the Miracle Zone.
Hello, and welcome to the Miracle Frequency Podcast, where business leadership and frequency align. And today we're going to dive into the key to effortless miracles. And I'm really excited to dive into this topic because it really flips a lot of what we hear and have learned about creation and manifestation on its head. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm going to tell you what the key isn't. The key to effortless miracles isn't trying to control the outcomes or even trying to bring the outcomes about, right? Because here's the thing. When we are journaling by the light of the new moon or visualizing outcomes or setting intentions and all of those things that we do, and there's nothing wrong with that when we're trying to manifest, we are in some ways still trying to control the outcome. We're still in some ways trying to create a thing that we want and attract that or call that in, right? And that's a very different operating framework for creation than the miracle framework for creation, which, as I mentioned in the last episode, the modus operandi is it makes no sense. It makes no sense. You didn't see it coming. You never visualized it. You couldn't even imagine these results to be possible. It's a completely different way of creating, where we're stopping that need to get clear on what the vision is and then call it towards us and effort, right? To making it effortless, which means we don't need to do any of that. We don't need to do any of that. We're just working with our frequency and our system and our energy to become in alignment at a frequency level with the highest emanation of what is available out there for us. And I talked about this a little bit in the previous episode of the Miracle Frequency Podcast. So if you haven't listened to that, make sure you listen to that. I talk about the difference between miracles and manifestation. So today, I just want to give you an example. And I wanted to share about this because I have been working in this space for well over a decade. And I can't tell you the number of times I've had a session with a client where they're telling me they really want a thing. And we're aligning and they're taking action for a thing. When it turns out, once we do a lot of this deeper work, this realignment work, where they want something completely different at a soul level than what they thought they wanted at a conscious awareness of the mind level, right? And so when we're manifesting, we're assuming we know. We're assuming we know best. It's very different than assuming that the all and divine timing, which we are co-creating with the universe, God, Goddess, Great Mother, whatever that is for you, that the master plan knows the best. And yes, we have free will. And yes, we also trust and surrender to what is coming. So you may be wondering then, but then how do I create? Right? And I want you to think it's like a tuning fork. When we have a tuning fork and it's vibrating at a certain frequency and we're placing an object near it, there comes to be a resonance, right? I'm moving my hands if you're just listening on the podcast and aren't watching on YouTube, right? And so the object placed with this tuning fork begins to vibrate at a similar resonance. And so our objective stops being, I want to create this all the time. We can do that when we're trying to manifest. But when it comes to the miracles, all we need to do is start putting ourselves in the vicinity of that tuning fork that's vibrating at that frequency, right? And a lot of what I do is to be that tuning fork for people, which is a beautiful blessing. And also, part of what I do is work with frequency to amplify that. And that's what we do in the Miracle Frequency Immersion, which is taking place at the end of May. So check it out in the links. This is exactly what we do. I work with sound and frequency. I amplify my sound and frequency and to work with your system to tune your system like a tuning fork to this miracle frequency, right? Now, I can say this to you because I know you've done a lot of inner work. I know you already are at a reasonably high frequency and reasonably high vibration, right? A lot of my clients are expert manifestors, instant manifestors. They teach manifestation, right? And so it's really easy when you're already amenable and already vibrating at this higher frequency than, say, the average person who still carries a lot of the weight of trauma and other healing work that they still haven't done yet. It's really easy to quickly attune to certain frequencies, right? Because we've done that a lot. And I think we take that for granted, that we've done a lot of the work of sitting with our trauma, of releasing, of lightening, of integrating, of embracing. We've worked with our subconscious. We've worked with our environment that we live in. We're aware of the people that we are around, right? We're very clear on our energy and don't take it lightly that we need to manage it, right? And so we can proactively choose what frequency we are wanting to vibrate at. That's the extent of control that we need here for the effortless miracles. We don't need to control all of the other things, right? And so it's a very blessed place. It's a very privileged place that we can't take for granted. But also it's really beautiful because it's a place where we can stop efforting so much, right? And I find a lot of the people that I know, whether they're my clients or friends or just acquaintances that I know that work and create in this way, they no longer do a million practices or even a million rituals to manifest things, right? I was actually talking to somebody yesterday and she's like, manifestation just doesn't make sense to me anymore. So it's just a completely different shift that we're doing, right? And it's a recognition that, it's a humbling recognition that maybe I don't know best. Or maybe what I think I know, I don't actually know. Or maybe what is available to me is so much grander than what I can imagine. And so I want to give you an example of what this looks like. So I think it was a year ago, I was on a date with a guy and he said something like, ha ha ha, maybe you manifested me. And I started laughing and I was like, if only you knew. There is none of that. I've not been journaling and writing all the qualities and all the lists and all the things. Like, that's way too much effort. Like, I delegate that. I release that. I'm really clear in my discernment and in my connection to my body, how I like to feel in relationship and who I like to be around in relationship. And obviously, it's not perfect. It's constantly refining over time, but I don't need to put it on paper. I just kind of know, right? And so the way I move through the world, be it for relating in relationship or how I parent or how I show up for my work or whatever, it's a very specific frequency and energy that I show up with. And I trust that whatever that is vibrating at the right level, is vibrating at this refined level of calling in whatever the match is for that, and whatever the right frequency is for that. And so, anyways, I had to laugh because here's the thing. If you listen to my music, and it's also linked here, most of my songs have a word that shows up in them. I'd say at least half of my songs. There's no songs about journaling, intending, waving crystals, none of that, right? The common theme in all of my music is the key to effortless miracles, and that is surrender. In almost all of my songs, at least over half of them, surrender. Sweet surrender. I got down on my knees and I surrendered. It's a constant surrendering. Surrendering of what? Number one thing is surrendering of control, right? And so I had to laugh when he insinuated that I manifested him. I'm like, wow, that's not quite accurate. And I came to learn later that he, in fact, had a journal where he wrote out all of the qualities of who he wanted to manifest, which he showed me one day. And I looked at it and it was creepy because it was literally describing me. Have you ever had that? Like, have you ever been manifested by somebody? It's a little creepy. It's a little creepy. Anyways, it was like all the things, like some really random things, really accurate things, right? So just delegate that. Delegate all that efforting, right? And this is powerful. Like, let them manifest you, right? It's the same for your clients and in your business. You can spend so much time focusing on who you're calling in and who you're attracting, as opposed to the potency of who I be in the world and how I walk in the world, and to know that if I'm showing up in this potency with this medicine, that's all I need to do. That's all I need to do, right? Because there are people out there who are thinking about who they want in their world to support them, manifesting you. Manifesting you. How much less efforting is that? To focus your time on the beingness and less time on the calling in and the attracting, right? So I just want you to sit with that for a moment. What would your life look like if you lived more from this place and if you created more from this place of miracles? Calling in miracles, not because you're calling anything in, but because you're so clear on the truth that you are a living, breathing miracle. You are a miracle in motion, and therefore you are a miracle magnet, because that is what you are available for, right? And all you need to focus on is that. All you need to control is that. All you need to do is focus on being open and receptive to them coming in, to them showing up in your life. Because the other thing is that you also need to be open to receiving them effortlessly. And I can tell you that this guy who manifested me, literally word for word, what he wrote about in his journal, it was great for a while until he realized he wasn't ready to receive this manifestation. Because the biggest thing is us also being ready to receive it, right? And so then we self-sabotage. Oh, am I even worth it? Oh, do they even like me? We create all this stuff. So that even when a miracle appears in our life, we don't see it, or we don't receive it, or we push it away because it's too good. Have you ever experienced this? It's too good. We can't even believe it's true. It was too easy. So that's my invitation to you, is to sit with what becomes possible. And what would it look like to shift your focus, all that efforting on manifesting, this, that, and the other, to get to that next level of creation, which is to know that it's here, to know that we are worthy of it, and to do that work of opening to receive it. It's a completely different shift. Just feel that in your body. And I do invite you to check out the Miracle Frequency Immersion, where we do a lot of this work. We work primarily with frequency, but you get a real live, in the moment experience of what this looks like to make this shift, not just you, but in a community of others, playing with this, hearing others share, oh my God, this happened today. Even just after 2 or 3 days, it's a 5-day immersion, even before the end. And then the week after, oh my God, this happened and this happened. And you'll feel it also in your life. When you really didn't change that much except working with frequency directly and releasing all this conditioning and all this need to control. All right, my loves, that's it for today. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Miracle Zone. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a transmission. And if today's episode and conversation resonated, leave a review and share it with a fellow visionary leader. In the links, you can access my free Miracle Business Blueprint, the 7-part framework I use with my clients to create a thriving, scalable, and self-sustaining business that gives you more freedom, not less. Plus, you'll receive a guided process to identify where to focus first so you can spend more time leading in your miracle zone right away. Let's build the new as a collective for the collective. Together, we're not just creating miracles, we're living them. Until next time, stay in the miracle zone.